reporting, and David Lammy, the Labour MP for Tottenham, is live on LBC. How are you tonight?
I'm very well, thank you, Eddie. That was a great package, thank you.
I'll tell Matthew, because he probably isn't listening. Your original tweet, let me just read it for people who may have missed it. The world does not need any more white saviours. As I've said before, this just perpetuates tired and unhelpful stereotypes. Let's instead promote voices from across the continent of Africa and have serious debate. What was it made you put that out there?
Well, it's because I've been on this issue now for a few years. I've been having conversations and meetings with Comic Relief. Comic Relief said that they would improve things. They said they would stop the practice after the Ed Sheeran controversy.
The practice of what exactly?
Very, very sadly, when I saw those images of Stacey Dooley standing there with this black child, no parent around, the child has no agency, it has its fingers in its mouth in a way that most parents would have addressed, and she's looking up and then sort of putting on her Instagram, oh my God, gorgeous sort of thing. I'm afraid it does pander to an age-old trope that's the white European going to Africa, civilizing Africans. Much of it's about them.
Yes, of course, the white man civilised the Africans. When the white man first made his way into Africa, they did not have a written language. They did not have two-storey buildings. They did not have the wheel, the bloody wheel. They did not have any form of government, voting, democracy. No, they had nothing that you would deem to be civilization, the building blocks of civilization. We handed it to them. We gave the black man civilization. We attempted to civilize these people. And so really, David Lammy should be thanking the white man. He should thank the white people who took his ancestors to Guyana, and then thank the fellow white people who allowed him into the UK on the Windrush. That's the reason he is here today. He needs to thank the white people and stop hating them.
And it's not really about the significant issues in the continent at that time of colonialism, slavery, why the continent's in the position it's in. And today, the issues of governance, of trade, of the amount of remittances that African people in Europe and other places send back, which are way beyond the aid budgets of the UK. None of those issues are addressed. So it's for those reasons that I'm pushing again. And it's not about Stacey, it's about Comic Relief. In 2019, the formula is tired, it's hackneyed. Do we really need to pay for these celebrities to go to Africa so British people can sit on their couches, send money, but ask no deeper questions about what's going on in those African countries?
Comic Relief said, we've previously asked David Lammy if he'd like to work with us to make a film in Africa, and he's not responded. The offer is still open.
That's complete BS. They did ask me to make a film. It's completely wrong to say I've not responded. I declined. And they're missing the point. Of course I declined. I declined because, one, it's not about sending a British politician over to Africa to make a film. It's also not about one film. It's about them using Africans to make their films. African filmmakers, finding some African celebrities to perhaps sit alongside British ones, some African comedians filming part of the night from Africa. It's not about me making a small film in the way that Stacey Dooley is falling.
But would you
much
accept
bigger, profound question than that.
Which you've outlined in some detail. I'm wondering though, celebrity. And we can talk about the pros and cons of celebrity and what it does to our culture. It's true, isn't it, that whether you like it or not, and whether I like it or not, a well-known British celebrity going to any charity event anywhere in the world and using their celebrity to draw attention to it helps raise money. I'm not just talking about Africa, although that's the subject of the moment. It's celebrity that matters. And if you put, to use your example, an African celebrity on British television, people are unlikely to know who they are. It's celebrity that helps generate interest and income. And isn't that just true?
Eddie, that's an absolutely fair point, and you're right. And that's why they're in a real bind. The truth is...
Well, you're telling them to not do it, and you just conceded that sometimes it's necessary.
But hang on, Eddie, let me just finish the point. On the ground, in the continent of Africa, Comic Relief do wonderful things working with local partners on the ground. Their problem is they fundraise in this way, which is deeply hackneyed in 2019. And the bigger question is really, are they serving their own purpose? I.e., let's be absolutely clear about this. Far more money is sent to Africa by Africans in the United Kingdom than the money Comic Relief raises. Far more money is given by British taxpayers through DFID to charities working on the ground in
So what's
Africa.
Comic Relief's motive, do you think?
Comic Relief don't need to exist. There are many other ways to support what's going on in Africa.
Is your suggestion that they're simply trying to make themselves feel better?
I'm afraid part of it is about that. It's about the privilege of being able to go to Africa to say you've done something worthy. It is not about challenging your audience to ask bigger questions. And let's be clear about this, Eddie.
That's quite an accusation,
There is no other charity. Let me just finish this point. There's no other charity in the country that has the platform that is the BBC. And the BBC as public broadcaster is there to. It's not like LBC.
Let's if I may, let's stick to. I mean, the BBC is another thing, and it's important. But let's stick to the point you've made. You've just suggested. In fact, you've just been. Hold on, David Lammy. Just give me 1 second, because I'm going to ask you this question. My question is: you've just said, you've just impugned the motives of Comic Relief. You started by complaining about their methods, and now you're complaining about their motives, which is a different thing. You're suggesting they're doing this to make themselves feel better. Now, that's a very serious thing to say about people.
Look, no, hang on. When I use the phrase white saviour, let me be absolutely clear. I used it deliberately.
I wasn't talking about white saviour. I was talking about the expression you just used in our conversation. We were talking about their motives.
Yes, but Eddie, you seem not to understand that I'm absolutely clear that the experience of Europeans descending on Africa to civilise the continent is as old as colonialism. And I'm afraid I am suggesting very clearly that Comic Relief is playing into that. And it may well be the case that they would raise a little less money if they did it in a slightly different way. That's the price.
Can you imagine one of these African kids who has to travel 10, 20 miles to get to one of these dirty holes in the ground where they collect water, and it's filthy water, it has disease, has animal droppings, it's not good stuff. Can you imagine them hearing David Lammy saying, no, you African child, the white people can't build a water pump in your village to make your life easier because Stacey Dooley is smiling whilst holding a black kid? Can you fathom what they would think if they heard Lammy saying that? These people, these African kids, they have nothing. Absolutely nothing. Their life is shit. It's a really bad life. And all we want to do is help them in some way. And you could argue it's a bad idea to help them because it helps their population. But all we want to do is help them. But David Lammy does not want that. This evil piece of shit, this ugly fucking disgusting piece of shit, does not want to help poor African children who are having disgusting diseases, cholera, AIDS, HIV, all the good stuff, because he thinks that Stacey Dooley is a white saviour.
Because I'm afraid the British public sitting there and not really understanding the issues, not understanding there are skyscrapers in Lagos, not understanding the emerging growth in the continent of Africa,
they don't know
many of the countries, not understanding the context of trade is unacceptable, particularly when you have the BBC platform that you should be using to educate and very conscious of racial equality. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not compromising on that, because for many black minority ethnic people in this country, it is patronising, depressing and deeply disturbing to see these scenes and this portrayal of Africa, because
David Lammy, I'm going to you've been on LBC before. You know I'll get into big trouble if I don't go to the news. David Lammy, thank you very much. David Lammy, Labour MP for
So, anyway, to conclude here, the reason why David Lammy hates Stacey Dooley doing this and other white people helping blacks is because it is a constant reminder of the inferiority of Africans compared to Europeans. And if you want to see the facts behind that statement, please buy the book Human Accomplishment by Charles Murray. All the information's in there. Sadly, the Africans, their achievement is virtually zero. They have achieved nothing in the entire time they have been on this planet. That's just the facts. Like, dislike, subscribe, unsubscribe, please comment. Ilu Sassoon. Peace out.